Anthony Antonelli, what is up, my friend? It
What's up,
is the
Mike?
2-minute warning show, and guess what? G's supposed to be here. Earl's supposed to be here. We've been talking all afternoon. They've been in the group chat, and the 2-minute warning is here. They are nowhere to be found. I have no idea where Earl and G are. They answered the text. They should be here any second. Hopefully, when they get on, we will talk about it. It is 2 minutes to go in the game. The Browns have a 3-score lead over the Cincinnati Bengals. It has been a chaotic, weird, rainy, crazy, absurdly fun to watch and disgusting game all at the same time. Went to the Muni lot. We had 200 people in here in less than a minute, and Browns fans are
I'm not even shocked. What's up, everybody?
crap crazy. You guys are the best. I see Earl's in the queue. We'll get him on here in a sec. This is going to be a lot of fun, guys. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for this opportunity for 5, 6, 7 months now, I guess, really since December, January, as I see G. Bush pulling up in here.
Right.
G, we're going to get you in 1 sec. We'll get Earl in here before they're ready, and you got to stick in. But we have over 400 people in here already, and with that, let's welcome G. Bush to the program. G, what is up on it's not officially Victory Sunday yet. We still got 2 minutes to go, but the Browns are looking pretty against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Hey, listen, it's beautiful, man, right now, man. Listen, the Kool-Aid is alive and well. Shout out to the Kool-Aid Mafia. As you can be telling, I'm over here screaming, I'm yelling, and this is a game that you see from the infrastructure. The Cleveland Browns are just better than they were.
Yeah,
and it's routine kicks, routine stuff. And they look like they're going to come out with a nice victory. And we got a lot to talk about when guys get in here, especially this defense.
Yeah, we're going to get to everything. We're going to go for an hour and change here in a sec. Bull will not be joining us today. Just so you guys know, you can stop asking. Bull will not be joining us. However, he will be on the show tomorrow.
He's a little sick right now. He's a little sick.
Shook. He'll be on the show tomorrow to get his due diligence. We're going to get to everything. We're going to wait about 2 more minutes to get into the actual game itself. The Browns, I'm looking at Cleveland Browns Stadium right in front of me. I'm watching the game on the Jumbotron. I can't turn my laptop around or I would show you guys. But we're going to get to everything. We'll talk about the defense. We'll talk about Deshaun Watson. We'll talk about Joe Burrow. We'll talk about Nick Chubb, what we saw from the offense for the first time. This defense as a whole completely negating what the Cincinnati Bengals want to do. We will talk about the fact Dawand Jones stepped in and didn't have his name called once, which is the best thing possible for an offensive lineman. But, G, before we do that, and Donnie M, let's read your super chat real quick. We are actually built for the weather. How about that rookie right tackle? We will talk Dawand Jones, I promise. But, G, real quick, as we let people get into the chat here, and I see Earl will get his mic check on the backside. I went to the Muni lot for the first time this morning, G.
Right? How was it?
Boy, oh boy, are Browns fans different. Boy, oh boy. Listen, I've been to a lot of tailgates. I've been to SEC tailgates. I've been to NFL tailgates all around the country. I'm not sure I've seen a drunker group of individuals at 8:30 in the morning than I witnessed this morning. And I mean that as the most upstanding possible compliment I could possibly give any fan base. It was impeccable. And with that, let's welcome in our resident Muni lot member, Earl Pearl. What up, Earl?
What's up, fellas?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Listen, been a long time no see.
Yeah, man, you good? Listen, I know you was rocking and rolling. Last time I heard you said we got to get it. We got to get this thing jumped off the right way. You was suited and booted. You was ready to go, and now you're a little horse in the throat.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was most of my vacation was spent recovering from a cold. I was able to pull myself together to officiate my cousin's wedding the other day. But man, the Browns come out here and get a dub today. That's a bonus. A game that I felt.
Earl, can you guys hear that? Do you hear the fireworks going off in the back of my shop?
Yep. Oh yeah.
That means the Cleveland Browns have officially started the season 1-0 for the second straight year. The first time that's happened since 93-94. That was the year I was born, fellas.
Yeah.
Oof. That just goes to show you how old I am. That's crazy.
All right, we're gonna give it 1 more minute for people to get in here. We already got 800 people in here in less than 5 minutes. That is impeccable. You guys are the best. We have a super chat real quick from Eric Spicer. I'll read as we let people come in. Anyone who said they'd rather lose with Watson playing well than win with him not looking great was high. I'll take this every day of the week. Not exactly the scenario we had discussed, but a dub's a dub. It feels good. You'd much rather start the season 1-0. And Earl, what's up?
Man, shout out to the L's. I mean the Browns. My bad. You know, shout out to the L's. I mean
It's
the Browns.
confusing.
You know, Cleveland is Cleveland, right? You know, this is what I mean. Everybody has so much to say about the Browns coming into this game, how we didn't stack up against the defending AFC champions, how Cincinnati is supposed to be this AFC powerhouse, and people act like that the Browns don't hold their own against the Bengals every time they pull up. They didn't pull it up in here since 2017, and they're left holding that L every single time. You know, for whatever reason, Joe Burrow don't play that great against the Cleveland Browns. So it's all about matchups when we tend to match up good. So shout out to the the Browns for going out there and get that done today.
Well, let's start with the defense. We have 1,000 people in here in less than 6 minutes.
Before you guys get into it, I'm gonna go produce.
And thank you for telling me, everybody. My cohorts took a little extra time to get in here. I appreciate you. But let's start with the defense, guys. And we'll talk to Deshaun Watson. We'll talk the offense. We'll talk Stefan. We'll talk everything here in a sec. But the bottom line, the Browns are 1-0, an absolute defensive domination over Cincinnati. Weather be damned, that defensive line was in the backfield as soon as the ball was snapped. The defensive backs for the Browns stuck on Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd like white on rice. It was a thing of beauty. We talked in the preseason. The Browns defense just looked different. They were playing more aggressive. They were attacking. They weren't waiting for things to come to them. And maybe one of our co-hosts was like, it's preseason. It doesn't matter. Some things maybe do translate. G, I'll start with you. Earl, we'll get to you next. But how impressive would you consider this Browns defensive performance from the first snap of the game to the final snap of the game?
Listen, man. I don't want to. Let me clear my throat real quick.
Yeah, that was more disgusting than the Bengals offense, G.
Yeah. Listen, it was bogged down just like it too. It was like in between my chest and throat. Listen, I'm gonna tell you what. I've been watching the Browns for years and years and years. I'm 41 years old. I've never seen the Cleveland Browns defense start off like that. I have never seen the Cleveland Browns defense play like that. And I'm not using hyperbole. The fact that I've never seen put some respect on Greg Newsome, put some respect on Denzel Ward, MJ Emerson. To me, as impressive as the defensive line was, for them to come out there and take whatever Jamar Chase said to heart and to lock them down like that, in rainy weather, changing paces, cutting, having to come back, delivering the football, no slips, no nothing in the secondary. They played lights out. MJ Emerson giving Jamar Chase the little man sign. You too little, you small. I'm pinning you against the sideline. When he hit me with that, I just had it hit different, bro. Every time they completed the ball, guess what? You got one step, you was laying it down. Tackling was impeccable, no yak all day. Joe Burrow couldn't get out of the pocket. They slammed the run game, shut that down. And I'm going to tell you what, Grant Delpit played lights out. All of them. And talk about Rodney McLeod being a veteran coming in and say, you know what, Juan, I got you. Don't even worry about that. Go ahead and rest up. I will see you next week on Monday to get this thing done. But I'm going to tell you what, this defense, I've never seen a Jim Schwartz defense play like this. I haven't seen the Browns play like this. But if they want to continue to do that, I have no problems with running Nick Chubb and doing what we need to do, put points on the board. But I can't overstate. This is the best defensive performance I've seen out of the Browns ever. I'm just saying that. And I know it's early, but ever. Just me.
Before you go, Earl, and all the super chats were coming in. We will get to those and put them in the private chat. We'll read them after each topic, but there's too many to cut in and out. We appreciate you guys. Everyone in here. We got 1,500 people in here already. Y'all the absolute best. We do this for you guys. And with that, Earl, what'd you think of this defensive performance today?
Man, listen, I've said this since I've seen them in preseason, right? It wasn't about the players that was on the field. It was more so about the swagger and the attitude and the intensity that this unit has played with from the preseason until now. So you can clearly see that this defense is for real. From the very first snap of this game to the last snap of this game, the Cleveland Browns defense, they never took their foot off the gas. They never backed off, being intense. They never backed off being aggressive. They came after Joe Burrow. They stopped the running game. It seemed like, all three levels of the defense was locked in and they played solid all game long. What I really love was we've seen defensive units in the past, not come out with the same intensity in the second half or better, or for even larger part, when the game looks like it's there to be won for the Browns and you need your defense to step up and make a play and get a stop, we will see the defense in the past not be able to do that. This Jim Schwartz-led defense, man, they was all over the place all day long. Myles Garrett getting that huge sack on the 4th down play. It kind of sealed the game right there. Grant Delpit flying around all day. We even seen Jock coming up the middle, making some tackles in the backfield. I thought that was great. You can see the investment in a guy like Dalvin Tomlinson. My boy MJ Emerson, as G said, man, you too little. You too little.
Too
stay
small.
over there a little, man. And so, man, just to see this defense do the things that they've done, I'm excited to see how this unit, can carry this performance over into next week. Because one thing that we've learned about Jim Schwartz very quickly is he's a no-nonsense type of dude, right? And so I don't see this defense being able to, they coach won't allow them to back off the level of intensity that they played with today. They've heard the noise. They've been hearing the noise. And then they showed up and showed out. That's a high-powered offense. And I get it. Joe Burrow hadn't played into this point. And I get it. Weather conditions was not the best. But you know what? Last time I checked, man, it's the same situation for everybody on that field. It's week one for everybody that was out there playing. You held that offense to no touchdowns. Joe Burrow, 82 yards passing.
That's it.
Jamar Chase, 39 yards receiving. This is supposed to be the Don Dada, so to speak, of the AFC, if you're not talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. And this defense came out there, man, and they punched him in the mouth, time in, to the point, they said, get Burrow out of here. There's no way we can win this game.
Yeah, the fact, if you had asked me to play this game out in my mind 100 times before actual kickoff, I could not have foreseen a scenario where the Bengals threw the white flag halfway through the 4th quarter. Like, we're not talking the last drive, put in the backup for the last drive, kneel down, whatever. We're talking halfway through the 4th quarter. And here's what was most impressive to me about this defense. You look at the very first play of the game, G. What happens? Za'Darius Smith in Joe Burrow's face gets right around Jonah Williams. On that first 3rd down opportunity, on the first drive of the game for the Bengals, you have Myles Garrett. And these are little things that don't translate on paper that you have to watch the game to see. You have Myles Garrett lined up inside with Za'Darius Smith on his outside right. Standing up. Myles Garrett is pretending to dribble a basketball between his legs. That is the swaggiest move I have ever seen a defensive lineman do. Not only does he do that, which is the ultimate taunt move beforehand, he blows right past the offensive guard, which leads to Joe Burrow stepping up in the pocket for an Ogbo sack. When they're coming out and playing with that level of swag, when they're out there playing that freely with the ability to create, and G, you said it all offseason, what Jim Schwartz does is he takes defensive linemen, gives them the freedom to do what they do best and attack.
And McNuggets, thank you so much. And please put some respect on G. Bush's name. I've been trying to tell y'all. Listen, I know Tyvus break down plays. I love Tyvus to death. He gonna break down all these corners. But I've been telling y'all for weeks on weeks what you gonna look for. And Myles Garrett is out there hesitating on boys at the 3 technique. Za'Darius Smith, oh baby, rocking them this. Like they out here playing basketball, McNuggets. I tried to let y'all know. Y'all think I'm just the king of the Kool-Aid Mafia. No, Jim Schwartz. And look how the corners was playing. The corners was like, we don't really feel you that good, T. Higgins. You get a lot of, like they was lining up on him like, we don't even feel like you nice like that. You get a lot of overshadow. They was lining up man to man, talking to him, talking to his soul. Tyler Boyd, you've been downgraded. You're a role player. I'll say it. I don't want to hear nobody. Listen, you're a role player now, Tyler Boyd. Until you get your stats back up and you go get your money off against 3 straight teams, I don't want to hear Adam the Bull telling me that he's part of the triumvirate. These dudes is not the greatest show on turf. I feel like they came out there and got punched in the lips. I thought Jamar Chase looked very small, and I thought Joe Burrow was going to be like I said they was going to be. At the end of the day, we going to get to Watson. We paid for $300 million for something, right? We need a couple throws. It's wet out here. I'm going to take them little throws, take the little dump offs. I thought the touchdown was big, and I like the fire and the energy. So listen, right now, you can't live off what you did last year. Stop telling me about how good they is at Arrowhead like you play the Chiefs every game. You don't play the Chiefs every single game. The Bengals got to play a game, a bunch of games the rest of the year. So I'm ready for all the smoke. I told you I was going to be petty. Oh, and Didi. Can we get rid of Kenny? I love you to death, Aditi, but we gonna talk when you come on this week about Kenny.
Hey. We will talk Steelers for the next 6 days. Today is a victory Sunday. Let us focus here on the Cleveland Browns.
The championship belt. Let's go.
We talked leading into this game, all the key matchups. I know you weren't here, but we picked X factors. On defense, it was JOK who played well. The only guy in the defense who I don't think had his name mentioned was Jordan Elliott, and that's okay. I think the other 10 guys all had individual plays where they were mentioned. If you have 10 guys get called out for an individual performance throughout the course of one football game, that means you're probably doing a pretty damn good job. I want to ask you this. Weather obviously played a factor for both quarterbacks. We'll talk about the offenses in a sec. How much do you feel like you learned about this Cleveland Browns defense despite the elements? Do you think it would have changed had this been a 75-degree sunny day with the footballs not being slippery? How much do you think that really played a difference?
I'm going to be totally honest with you, but I think I learned everything I needed to know about this defense before they even played this game. And I get it. We cannot take a lot away from preseason, but it was something about how that defensive unit prepared itself. It was something about how that defensive unit just stepped on the field with this particular swag, right? Just this particular attitude, this particular energy. And those things right there to me set the foundation before you got here. So I really feel like that if the weather was not the way it was in Cleveland, if it was 75 and sunny, I think you still would have seen an aggressive attacking defense. Yep. This is who they are. This is who their identity is. And so to me, while you got other people and the Browns included when it came to the offense, holding back and not scripting plays and not showing who they're going to be like most teams do around the NFL, the Cleveland Browns defense showed you who they was week 1 of the preseason. They showed you we don't give a damn what the name is on the back of the jersey. This is how we play football on this side of the ball. This is the attitude that we step out on the football field with. This is how we approach things. And all they did was they took everything that they've been doing through OTAs, through training camp, through the preseason, and they applied it on this Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals. It just so happened that the weather was not the best. But if the weather was 75 and sunny, I think that the defense would have been the same. So what I learned about the defense, if I learned anything today, is that they're for real and that they're consistent. And this is exactly who they are.
Hey, G, we talked about this, for 3 weeks straight. There are certain things in the preseason that are simply there just to be done in preseason. There are other things, bigger picture things you can kind of take out from the micro, right? And I remember watching that Kansas City game. By the way, we're at 2 people short of 2,000 concurrence right now.
Crazy.
I want to hit 3,000. The Browns absolutely gobsmacked the damn Bengals.
No, let's hit 4.
Tell your friends. Let's break 2 first. Let's get 3, and then we'll break 4. But tell your friends, tell your moms, tell your dads, tell your cousins, tell your pets, tell your aunts, your uncles, your brother's best friends to come out, support us, tune in right now, because you ain't going to find this coverage anywhere else. In the micro, G, we talked about, it's preseason. They're playing Shane Buechele. It's not Patrick Mahomes. Who cares? What we did see time after time after time, and there's 2,000. We love y'all. Thank y'all. What we did see from the Hall of Fame game to the final preseason game, an intensity of ferocity and aggressiveness that we did not see in a Joe Woods defense. And that's, to me, is a mindset. And Earl said it perfectly. A mindset translates. Whether you can stop a guy who's a third stringer, whether you're stopping Jamar Chase, that's talent. That's skill. That's what MJ Emerson has that guys who don't make it past the Hall of Fame game on a practice squad don't have. Like, that's where it separates. But the mindset is translatable throughout the preseason, throughout training camp, throughout everything like that. And from what we saw on this defense, from the first week of the preseason to the final week of the preseason, and mostly against Kansas City when the starters actually played, I thought was a mindset that translates to winning football games in the NFL against first-team offenses, against good first-team offenses, and that translated. Gee, am I overstating that?
No.
Or do you think what we saw today, not just an anomaly? Because to remind you, last year, Cade York kicked the game-winning field goal week 1. We were on this very program a year ago saying Cade York's the savior. He's on Tennessee's practice squad now. So week 1 doesn't mean everything is a lock to stay like that. But am I overstating what I think this defense can be moving forward?
Nope.
Or is this translatable from weeks 2 to 17 as well?
Man, this is why I was so adamant. This is why, as a person who's played the game, as a person who's been in those locker rooms, as a person who can call on some of the guys that I played with that are coordinators, guys that are in the league, guys that are doing this for a living, understand this. When you land the foundation and the bricks of anything, those foundation and those bricks are started in conditioning and lifting weights and them 5 and 6 o'clock sessions. And when you're getting together with your position groups at meals and you're going over the what you need to do and you're watching tape extra, all of those things count. So this is why I'm so adamant that when I get on these talk shows and people want to discredit what practice is and discredit what training camp is and OTAs don't count. No, that's for the people that just want to watch the games. Yeah, you don't think that counts or does anything, but for a professional and those guys that are living and dying with what they're doing in the offseason, that's where championships are built. So we got to start asking ourselves as Cleveland Browns fans, are we into actually playing football and foundations of building a culture, or are we just fair weather guys that they're like fantasy football and stats? Yeah. Because when people start talking all that, well, this don't count and that don't count and this don't count, you saw today why it does count. We saw all of those 2s and 3s and backups playing with the same energy level, which means that the standard is the standard. So I said, well, wait till you see them 1s in there because they're going to play with that same thing, because guess what? The 2s and the 3s are picking up from what the 1s do. They're watching their position groups. That energy level starts from the top. Did you see on the sideline how Jim Schwartz and everybody was running down the sidelines and high-fiving and they didn't want to give up no points. They was trying to shut them boys out from beginning to end. And Kevin Stefanski said something. I was watching and listening to some of his interviews before the game. He said, y'all don't know how important it is for me to be able, when I leave my office, to the right of me is Bill Callahan. He's been a coach, head coach at the college level, high school, professional level. He's one of the best to ever do it. When I go out my office on the right hand side or the left hand side, guess who I got? I got Jim Schwartz, who's won that Super Bowl trophy, the Lombardi trophy. I can go to these two dudes and run some stuff by them, and you cannot overblow how big that is for Kevin Stefanski to be able to do that.
Like G said, the standard is the standard, right? Yep. No Juan Thornhill, no big deal. Rodney McLeod step in and he holds it down as a veteran who knows that knows this scheme and this system. And another thing that G said, because I agree with all of it, it seemed like all three of us has been talking the same thing about this Browns defense since the better part of the preseason. We believe what we saw at that time to be real. And clearly it is. As G said, they didn't want to give up no points. And I'll keep it 100 with y'all. They was an 18-yard pass interference penalty away from being shut out. If we keeping it all the way real.
Keeping it a buck.
It was the right call. Granted, it was the right call.
All I'm saying is that penalty don't happen. They might have just had gotten shut up. Rookie punter, he punted the ball 10 times today.
Hey, in the first half, he punted 7 times. Joe Burrow had 6 completions. They punted more in the first half than they completed passes.
Yeah, and so you just look at this defensive unit, and this is who they are. This is what it's going to be. And sure, every game might not be as dominating as they was on this Sunday, but this is who they are. Jim Schwartz will not allow this unit to be anybody but. As G said, the standard is the standard. As I've said, as you said, this attitude, this swag, this intensity, this attention to detail, it's been here since day one. They didn't just pull up the first week of the season and try to flip a switch. You can't do that. This is professional sports, and you're going against the best athletes in the world. So when people say certain things don't matter or it's not a big deal, because you got to lay that groundwork and you got to lay that foundation before you get to here. Because in ugly games like that against division rivals, games like that will be remembered in December when things is, playoff format is starting to be put together.
One thing, we're going to move on to the next portion. We got over 2,300. We love y'all. I'm trying to get 3,000. Get your friends in here. If this is the peak of this Browns defense, that means an average defensive performance could be 13, 16 points. You're going to win a lot of damn football games if you're giving up in the teens in points. All right, moving on. We're going to get to your super chats in 1 sec, but I do want to talk about the transformation of the kicking position for the Cleveland Browns. 1 year ago today, or technically tomorrow, on the postgame show, we were celebrating Cade York's game winner against the Carolina Panthers. He is in Tennessee now. Dustin Hopkins made his debut for the Browns. A perfect performance from the real D-Hop. Earl, you and I were on here after the Chiefs preseason game, going bonkers. It's our third highest viewed individual show ever because the reaction to Cade York missing those kicks needed to be discussed, and we did it. I'm going to ask this as simply as possible. How nice did it feel to see a ball leave a kicker's foot and look like a regular damn kick for the first time in a year and a half?
His very first kick was a 42-yarder when it was raining at his peak, right? And as the commentator said, he hit it straight down Euclid. And so it feels good to be worried. You know, he's a veteran kicker. Like I feel like we don't have to continue to have kicker conversations after today, right? That you can look at this dude and you can trust him to go out there and just do his job. You know, he doesn't come with the big name and all the status that K York came with just simply by him being a 4th round pick, but a veteran kicker that came in and did his job, man. We say it all the time. You got one job, just come in here and hit your kicks. But that 42-yarder straight down Euclid to start it off, it was everything I needed. And it settled everybody on the team and they knew that they can trust him. So that right there, that's all you need. Go out there, make kicks, make your extra points, do everything you got to do to put your opponent away. And he did that.
G.
Listen, welcome to the NFL. This is what you need. And when people talked about get rid of Cade York, this was the exact reason that didn't needed to be done. Because in a game where it was rainy, no one expected it to be that sloppy. Guess what? Those kicks made it. Every time he hit 3 points, them was like 7 in this weather. You see the difference it looks like when you got a kicker that can kick field goals and you got a defense that you know they can't score on. 3 points, it might as well be 10. 3 points might as well be 14, especially with the weather like that. And you got a running game where you can salt away games. And just for the Cleveland Browns to have somebody that's going to be a professional, that's going to make kicks, make their extra points. We're not asking you to do nothing crazy. I know people talk about we want Robbie Gold. This guy from 40, this guy from 50. Listen, at the end of the day, give me somebody that's going to hit them 40 plus, 40, whatever the case may be. Why are we going to the extremes? We don't need nobody kicking 65 yarders. If we kicking 65 yarders, that means the offense ain't doing that. We better get closer. Then you tell Deshaun Watson, hey, we paying you how much? We need to get it closer. They know how close we got to get in the kicker's range. That's what we talk about complimentary football. This is why this game to me is very impressive. Because guess what? All your games ain't going to end and be in perfect weather and nice sunny plays. But guess what? The teams that usually make those regular plays are the teams that are winning. And the Browns haven't been those teams. Today, they did what they needed to do. They made them kicks. The defense played well, and they made plays. It wasn't perfect offensively, but they made enough plays to get it done, in the opening game against the division rival.
So we're going to get to your super chats in a sec. Then we'll talk about the offense. Then we'll circle back to the defense and wrap this up here. But I do have a note from Jason Lloyd, who is in the locker room right now. He just texted us and said, Jim Schwartz just walked out the locker room wearing white pants after Labor Day. I love that guy. Jim Schwartz, a bad MFer. That dude built different. We got a bunch of super chats to get to. Anthony put them in the private chat, so I'm going to read these to you guys. We appreciate everyone for tuning in. Hit that like button. If you haven't already subscribed to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, make sure you do that. We don't only do post-game shows. We're live Monday through Friday, 11 to 1 p.m. We have a massive announcement coming on the show tomorrow. It's going to be a game changer for us as well. But you guys ready to do some super chats?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to ask each of these to one of you guys individually. If you agree, we don't have to go back and forth. If you disagree, we can. So, Earl, we'll start with this first. This one comes from Jarrell Jack. Why is Jordan Elliott on this Browns roster? And am I mistaken about Jed Wills getting beaten around the corner? We'll talk about Jed Wills in a sec. So let's hold the Jed Wills side of this. The question, why is Jordan Elliott still on this roster?
All right. When you get to Jed Wills, man, please let me go first. Because I know G gonna bury him. Just please let me go first.
All right.
But
all right. We're gonna say that for the offensive side.
Why is Jordan Elliott still on this roster? I mean, at this point, man, it's a rotational beast. The rotational piece. This is the NFL, and players get hurt. You know what I mean? And the good thing is this: I'm not really worried about Jordan Elliott today. At the end of the day, the guys that we paid, the guys that we are counting on to step up and play a significant role on this defense, they did that. And so, for me, if Jordan Elliott gets in there for a few snaps when guys is tired or it's just his turn in the rotation, cool. Now if somebody major was to go down and Jordan Elliott had to step up and play a bigger role, then I might have a problem. But I mean, just for me, I don't know about you all. I'm really not really too worried about Jordan Elliott at this point. Your depth piece on this roster. You're probably like what, defensive tackle number 5. So I mean, it is what it is. As long as we ain't got to see him for more than a couple plays at a time.
Earl said it best. Jim Schwartz wants to rotate defensive linemen, keep people fresh. He's good enough to rotate in the league. He's not going to, make any crazy splash plays. I also think Shelby Harris will probably be starting by the end of the season, but Shelby Harris is a little older, and Jim Schwartz is saying, look, hey, we're not going to bring you in and rush you in. Shelby Harris, do you want Shelby Harris now, or you want Shelby Harris for a playoff run? And save some snaps on him. So we'll keep Jordan Elliott. We'll rotate him and keep him fresh. That's why he's on the roster. Just his rotation.
And also, Ika didn't even dress today. He was one of the Browns' inactives, which means,
right.
That 5th defensive tackle spot, kind of irrelevant right now. He's on the roster. I see some people saying we've been teasing this announcement. The paperwork is finally signed. Like, trust me, it's not because we haven't been trying to tell y'all. Paperwork's finally signed. Next one comes from P. Rothstein. 216. He says the best Browns defense since the dog pound great team win, but we need a backup running back. Ford ain't that dude. G, Ford still RB2 moving forward, or you got some concerns after the fumble today?
Man, no, I don't got no concerns. I think Ford can run the football. I think it's just taking him a while to get acclimated. Once again, not too much. What's the name? Does not have didn't have many reps because of the hamstring. He put the ball on the ground a little bit. He had some runs today that I thought were good. He just needs to get back into shape, get back into the mix a little bit. Ford will be fine. And at the end of the day, I mean, Nick Chubb is Nick Chubb. He's built different. Like, stop acting like that ain't Nick Chubb. If they want it, Chubb can get 24 carries. Chubb showed a little bit carrying and catching the ball a little bit too. As long as you got Nick Chubb, I'm cool with it. Now, if Nick Chubb go down, yeah, we talking. We on the phones. But other than that, I'm cool.
Yeah, I really ain't think too much of the fumble myself either. I know, like, at the end of the play, when Jermaine Pratt came around and kind of hit him when he was trying to extend the ball for the first down, I'm pretty sure Stump Mitchell will have a conversation with him about making sure he got that ball tucked away. But, I mean, he had, 36 yards on 15 carries in a sloppy game. He did his part as running back, too. As G said, this is why Nick Chubb is him. For all the people who wants to go ahead and read running backs and say that position is disposable and anybody can do it, Nick Chubb showed you why he's a difference maker. Because when early on in this game, when the offense just really couldn't get it going and they couldn't get their feet up under them and the weather was, sloppy, he's catching the ball out the backfield. He was the offense for the better part of a quarter and a half. And so that just shows his value, not just him being a running back, but just Nick Chubb's value to the team. But Jerome Ford.
Earl, look, and the crazy thing is, we ain't saying Joe Mixon is trash or nothing, but he showed you the difference between being Chubb and Mixon.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
For those who think you can just pull up and, you could just pull out a running back and you could just put them in there and everything is going to be okay. When games is like that, you need that dog back there. But I'm not really necessarily worried about Jerome Ford. He didn't get much work in the preseason due to his soft tissue injuries, and he got to get his feet up under him. So he didn't fumble the ball again.
We talk about the unknowns. Ford had 8 carries last year. That's his first career professional fumble. If he has a fumbling problem, we'll find out if he fumbles more. But right now, one made by a great play on Pratt. I'm not tripping too much. Next super chat comes from KM Level. Shout out to the D for the best tackling I've seen in a decade. Schwartz got those boys cooking. Real quick, hand up. That tackling was A++++. Anyone disagree? Nah.
It was great.
Great.
Next one's from Future and Coy Lee Ray. Tell Chase to keep his mouth shut. Cleveland is Cleveland. We don't play that here. We are here. LFG. I don't want to say that word on air. This is great. Much love. Love y'all. We appreciate you guys too. Sly says, without Joe Woods. Say it again.
Let's elf and go, man.
I like that.
I like that.
I like that, Earl. Sly says, without Joe Woods, Denzel earning his paycheck. Hey, for a guy coming off a concussion protocol, not going through a full week of practice, he looked as good as I've seen Denzel play in a while. And Paul mentioned it earlier this week. For whatever reason, it is hard to fathom or put your finger on it, but very few cornerbacks affect Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. And for whatever reason, Denzel Ward is a thorn in their side.
Rent-free in Joe Burrow's head, man.
Yeah.
He really does. It's about matchups, right? For whatever reason, I don't know if it's the time spent at Ohio State. I don't know if it's the the back and forth Ohio scouting over the years. I don't know what it is, but he clearly knows Joe Burrow very well. He knows his tendencies very well, and he seems to be at his best when he's playing against that dude.
And we are not giving out no permission slips. We're not giving out no sick slips. No, listen, y'all gonna deal with all of the smoke that come with that. Yeah. I just had to sit here and hear about him getting all that money, all that bag, how Burrow had and all of this other stuff. Listen, he played horribly. He might be injured a little bit, but guess what? No one gave no Deshaun Watson. No, we don't give him no reprieves. 6 games. No, he's gonna catch that smoke tomorrow, and it is what it is.
Yeah. All right, we got a bunch more super chats. Let me get through these. We're gonna talk about a couple of them, so I'm just gonna read these. We'll react, and then we'll talk about Deshaun Watson, the offense. Professor Chaos says that sack by Myles Garrett on 4th down was poetry in motion. Banana Peel Jack, it's amazing what happens in the secondary when our man cornerbacks actually play man coverage. Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Cottonwood Slim says, will G be serving some Kool-Aid? You and the other 2,500 people in here already know the answer to that. The Roundtable React says, Bull's opinionated but fairly objective. He'll admit since he didn't have it today and give the Browns defense their due. Love Myles Garrett and this end game personally. Bull will be on the show tomorrow. If you have any things you want to hear from Bull, I promise you he is not hiding. He is not part of the post-game show this year for us, but he will be part of the show on Monday, so you won't be seeing Bull here on Sundays. You'll see him on Mondays. Donnie M says, can we give a shout-out to Dustin Hopkins for the field goal kicking? We did much.
We already named our airport after him.
Professor Chaos says Delpit should get the game ball. We talked about him earlier. He played maybe his best game ever in a Cleveland Browns uniform. I can't think of one better. Max Nicolento said something we're going to touch on in a sec about AB giving Conklin a contract without his knees being shot. Why not a lower amount? We'll talk about DeJuan Jones and Conklin in a sec. And then last super chat before we talk a little offense comes from Damian Frederick. Somebody forgot to tell Chase what happened to the last security guards. Better ask Juju. Cleveland is Cleveland. Yeah.
Oh, you crazy.
Yeah. I like that one.
I do too. I do too. All right. We got to talk some offense now. The defense, absolutely dominant. Offensively, enough's enough sometimes. It don't have to be pretty as long as it's effective, and it was effective for 50% of the game. G, I'll start with you. What'd you think, and we'll get to Watson specifically in a sec, but big picture. What'd you think of this first look Stefanski offense with Deshaun Watson under center?
I think in the NFL, you can have a game plan that you go in with, right? And you can have a number of things that can go wrong where that game plan is null and void. I think they had an idea that they wanted to come out and shoot the ball and really push the ball downfield a little bit. But it was very evident due to the rain and how heavy it got that both quarterbacks had trouble throwing the football, right? So, there was a multiple, throws that I think were underthrown or overthrown. The weather made it very inclement. And at the end of the day, I think that kind of messed up the game plan. But what I will say is this. Yes, that's the NFL. The only thing that's guaranteed in the NFL is that, you're going to have to adjust. And I thought they made the adjustments, which shows why it is foolhardy and is dumb to sit there and say that we're going to put all of our eggs in one basket when it comes to the trends of the NFL. I know people want to pass the ball, but we live in Cleveland, Ohio. You don't live in Miami, Florida. You don't live in a dome city, and we don't got a dome yet. So guess what? Games like that pop up from time to time. And if they are going to pop up from time to time, how luxurious is it to have a good O-line and a running game that you can hang your hat on and actually play to your strengths rather than trying to play to everybody else's strengths. Everybody else might have Tyreek Hill. Everybody else might want to throw the ball with Patrick Mahomes. But I'm going to tell you, tried and true. I played up front. I've dealt with 300-pound men. I know how hard it is to get off those blocks up there. When you in a nasty game, and those guys are firing out at you and you can't get off a block, you don't have any footing, it is so frustrating to understand how difficult it is to stop the run game. And I just would like people to, for once, say, you know what a great luxury we have in Cleveland when it does get nasty. We got a back like that and an offensive line like that. And I thought Stefanski, for once, did a really good job of saying, well, let's dial it back. If we ain't got it, we ain't got it. Let's get this win and play to our strengths.
I look at the offense as, under Deshaun Watson, there were some things that look really good. You can tell the things that need some work. Some things might have worked because the timing was off, and this is just week one, or some things it's just the weather. Who knows? But this is what I can appreciate about Kevin Stefanski today. As G says, everybody comes into an NFL game with a plan and how they believe things is going to go. But, the Bengals defense showed up too. And the Browns kind of got hit in the mouth a few times. And instead of staying down, they got back up and they kept fighting. And one of the things that I love is seeing how people, coaches, and players adjust to the adjustments. And it just seemed like Kevin Stefanski, he stuck to the flow of the game. He adjusted to whatever necessary adjustments that needed to be made. Mike, check this out. I'm not going to do a deep dive because I'm not you. You already know I don't do the whole numbers thing.
What do I want to dive into? What am I looking up?
But 40 carries, 206 yards, and one rushing touchdown. Well, 2 rushing touchdowns. That was the Cleveland Browns today. Well, yeah, 1 rushing touchdown. That was the Cleveland Browns today. Deshaun Watson threw the ball 29 times for 144 yards. This is your head coach looking at the situation at hand, seeing what's working, seeing what's not working, whatever the obstacle is, whether it's weather, whether it be the defense making adjustments, etc. Our head coach looked at what was going on throughout this game, and he constantly made the proper adjustments and called the right plays at the right time to seal this victory. When the Browns got that huge sack and it turned the ball over and we got the ball pretty early, and at that point it was okay. Let's start running this ball. Let's start using this clock. This game is right here for the taking, and let's go take it. And so I have no issues with, his game plan. I can see with some things that they are trying to do with this offense. You can see that this offense does have big play ability. Deshaun Watson being a dual threat that he is, when he escapes the pocket, we know he missed some throws. He had about 5 to 10 throws that was a little low, that was a little off kilter, or whatever the case may be. But you can see that when he gets out in space, the wide receivers are out in space. This offense looks like it has big play ability written all over it. Not going to try to jump ahead of this thing. We all know what happened with Jack Conklin, man. This is where I got to give AB the kudos, because you had DeJuan Jones step in there, and he outplayed a guy that plays another tackle position on this team that's been on this team for a couple years.
Yeah, we're going to get there in 1 second. We'll talk about Watson specifically, but here was my big picture takeaway from this Browns offense. You never knew what was coming. And unpredictability offensively can be a coach's downfall if he refuses to go with what's working. It could also be a brilliant tactic to keep the defense on its toes, especially in inconvenient weather. They went under center. They went empty. They went shotgun. They went pistol. They went 3 trips. The touchdown run by Deshaun Watson is one of the more creative plays I've seen a coach call in the perfect situation, where he has trips right and QB draws left because he knows they're going to be in man coverage, shifts them all over. You get a guard. In this case, it was Wyatt Teller pulling, sealing the edge, and Watson scampers in for a touchdown. Those are the little things that we saw Kevin Stefanski open up today that I don't think he was able to open up with his previous quarterbacks. It's no disrespect to Jacoby Brissett, Baker Mayfield. They just simply aren't as talented with their arm or their legs as one Deshaun Watson. When you have a guy under center like number 4, there's nothing you can think of that you're then limited to by your quarterback's capabilities. If you are creative enough to think of it, Deshaun Watson is talented enough to execute it. And G. Bush and Earl and to everyone else watching, we need 9 more people to cross 2,500. Y'all better get your ass in here.
Come on, stop playing around.
Kevin Stefanski, and you go back and look at the numbers, and we could criticize his play calling, decision-making, whatever in the past. He was always top of the league in having guys open. Could his quarterbacks get them the ball? Not always the case, but guys were always open. Deshaun Watson missed a bunch of throws today. We'll talk about Deshaun Watson in a sec. We just got 2,500. Thank you. Deshaun Watson was not perfect by any means today. Let's not pretend he was. But the ideas that Stefanski put out on the field, whether it's the throwback to Elijah Moore, which I won't forget, that play was a thing of beauty. Roll out right, play action, have Elijah Moore come across the formation, wide open against zone. Whether it was even the deep ball, direct snap to Chubb, handoff to Watson, deep attempt to Goodwin. I say his name wrong every freaking time. It's an abomination. That's a bad job out of me. They did things we haven't seen because I don't think he was comfortable having his quarterback even attempt that. And to know that he feels confident in Deshaun Watson making those kind of throws To me, that says this guy's an offensive genius. One offensive coach of the year, has gotten the utmost production from Baker Mayfield, Jacoby Brissett in their entire careers. Now he has a guy who can execute what he really wants to do. You have the potential for something special. G, let's talk about Watson real quick. Let's just start grade. What grade would you give Deshaun on his performance today?
Like C?
Yeah.
Like I give him like a C. There's one thing that I'll say is, there's a lot of passes where he seemed to underthrow receivers. Skipped a few balls to Elijah Moore. He skipped a few balls that were wide open to Amari Cooper. But there were throws where you saw like, dang, that was a dime. The dime to Amari Cooper on the side. DPJ was crazy. That was over a guy. That was over the forest and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. That ball had to get through 7, 8, 9, 10 cats, it seemed like, to get there. But here's the thing I kept telling myself during the game was, just give me a play. Just give me a play. We need to play here. We need a first down here. We need to scramble here. And I thought one of the big plays was that touchdown run when Stefanski goes with the diamond formation to the wide to the short side of the field, and it looks like Deshaun Watson is by himself. And they're like, "Wow, you called a direct. You gonna call a draw play on that?" I thought that was brilliant. I thought Deshaun Watson, he'll play better. The thing is, what I love is in those games. These are the games where you see, technically, if the Browns were to play somebody in one of these games, the Browns quarterback would look terrible. The other quarterback would look terrible, but they would make 2 or 3 plays that really stood up to the test of time and put them over the top. And I thought Deshaun Watson did have a couple of plays like that really helped him out, put him over the top. I give him a C. He'll probably tell you he played terrible. Stefanski will say he played terrible. But all that matters is you get to win in the rain. And then you look forward to correcting some of that in the second week. And look, it wasn't even raining in Kansas City, and Patrick Mahomes didn't look that good. So it is what it is. You take it and keep it pushing.
Yeah, I got him around a C too. He completed 55% of his passes, threw an interception. I know the pass was deflected, but you still threw the interception. Right. It's going in the stat book. As far as the throws that's being skipped and the low throws, Mike, I'm not sure if you've all paid attention, but the few times that we did see Deshaun Watson in the preseason, it seemed like a lot of the ball specifically to Elijah Moore is always a little low. Have anybody else noticed that?
Yeah.
Those are the ones against what was the second preseason game? Or no, it was against Kansas City. He ran that little out route. Yeah. And Moore cooked the DB, and the throw was a little. It was there, it just was a little low. Yeah,
so if it's one thing that I have noticed, through some of the things that we've seen in practice in a few games that we've seen him. The balls that goes to him, they are a little low. Deshaun Watson still got some rust to knock off, clearly, but it's not because of anything last year, simply because it's week 1 and pretty much every quarterback got some rust to knock off. I mean, just look across at his opponent today. The newly highest paid quarterback in the NFL looked god awful throwing the football. He was skipping throws left and right, throwing balls out of bounds too. So it's just one of those things to where, the weather played a huge factor, but Deshaun Watson did make some nice plays. He did make some nice throws when they counted. I appreciate, the throw to Elijah Moore to put some points on the board before we headed into halftime. Just things like that, putting your offense in position to get points. It's not always going to be pretty, and I know we talked about this, or it was talked about last week on the show, but, hell yeah, give me the dub in a fashion that we won, and Deshaun Watson didn't play his best. I would much rather have Deshaun Watson, gradually working his way up towards his peak, say towards the end of the season as we enter the playoffs, because the beauty of it is we just beat a damn good team with an inclement weather situations without our quarterback playing the best. And so now we went up on the Bengals in the division, and that's the only thing that matters.
Yes, sir.
I give Deshaun Watson like a C-, C, right? Like a low C, high C-. I know that's not even probably possible. He didn't throw the ball well. He did everything you want to do from an intangible leadership standpoint. He ran the ball very well. Joe Burrow played an F. And if you told me beforehand that Deshaun Watson would play a C-, C game and we would beat the Bengals by 21, I'd be like, nah, fam, ain't no way in hell that's happening. But guess what? That's the reality of our situation. G, you played football at a higher level than me and Earl did. I mean, I barely played ever, or I'm not even sure. Did you play Pop Warner? I know you played Muni Lot League, but like you never.
Yeah, I played Muni League and played a little bit freshman year.
You know, rain happens in the NFL all the time. It's not like playing in rain is uncommon. I don't understand. I don't remember ever seeing two quarterbacks struggle to handle a wet football as much as we saw Burrow and Watson struggle today. I'm curious if these are brand new footballs for the season and are just more slippery with the wet weather because they're not kind of broken in yet. Like I genuinely don't know. Joe Burrow could barely hold the football. He was doing little pop passes, underhand. He threw two to the sidelines that slipped. It was the most miraculously unfathomable situation I can really remember. Like, I don't understand why these two struggled so much to throw the football in what seemed like relatively okay weather, all things considered. Because last year, Watson played NOLA in Cleveland in the same stadium with 50-mile-an-hour winds. It was what? Negative 14 degrees?
Mm-hmm.
And he looked better than he did today at times. So,
well, the footballs are frozen then, so it's like you get a good grip on them. Like them boys is hard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you get a better grip on it when it's more, you know, like under a situation where the leather is a little more tough. When you start off this first part of the season, your footballs aren't even really broken in like that. You get a new set of footballs. Sometimes the training staff or the guys that give out the equipment, sometimes they throw the ball back and forth on the sideline, like, you know, during 2 days in camps to get the game balls ready. But you can't have them be old. That's why you can't have them hit the dirt. You just want to break them in, and it's hard to break them in like that. And today was more of a humid day, more rainy. The balls are a different type of wet and a different type of slick. You saw guys, you know, catching the ball more with their shoulder pads and their chest plates. And when you let the ball get into your body, you're going to have a lot of drops. Some people wear gloves. Some quarterbacks wear gloves. Some people don't wear gloves. I thought Joe Burrow I think in the second half went to the glove
it was so
to try to get a better grip on it, and it still wasn't really working. So, you know, that's the thing about football. Some players with the bigger hands. Joe Burrow does not have the biggest hands in the world. It's harder to grip a ball when that happens. But you know, that's just why it's all different from some people. That's why the weather can affect a team really crazy. And it can really affect a team who has a quarterback who doesn't throw the ball very well. But some people is right at home with it. Some people, you just throw the football, hands are bigger, they get a better grip on it, and they're just used to doing it. So, you just got to adjust, man. You just got to adjust. That's why I'm a big proponent in run the ball. Sometimes you ain't going to be able to throw the ball. That's why it's a running game and a passing game, right?
It was just weird because I've seen, you know, quarterbacks play in what feels like torrential downpour and not be affected. And Joe Burrow was even more affected. The dude couldn't hold on to the ball. Like, yeah, you just never see that. All in all, though, Deshaun Watson made enough plays to win the football game. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. Was he perfect? By no means. Was he terrible? No. Did he make some throws? Yes. Did he miss some? Yep. Especially to Marquise Goodwin. Yeah. That dude's fast, bro. Yeah. That dude is different level speed.
He underthrew him twice.
Yeah, he did. You know, but I mean, this is what happens this is why, you know, sometimes they say you can't duplicate practice, right? Because both quarterbacks, I'm pretty sure they've done the wet ball drill damn near 1,000 times over before the season even got here. But the truth is, man, when you got real weather and you ain't just dumping footballs in a bucket of water, and you know, you got professional athletes that's getting paid a lot of money coming after you, you know, some balls is gonna slip, and that's just what it was. But you know, we got the win, and to me, it's really hard to like overanalyze. Like, yeah, he could play much better. We all know he's capable of playing much better. But at the end of the day, he did what he needed to do to lead his offense on drives that, you know, turned into points more often did they not. And so, you know, he had a costly turnover himself. Jerome Ford had a costly turnover. Hell, David Bell had a huge drop. You know what I mean? So it's like these things happen, right? We can pinpoint anything. At the end of the day, to me, this was a solid team win. All three phases did their part to make sure the Browns came out victorious. And I don't really give a damn about how ugly it was. At the end of the day, we 1-0. We won our home opener, and we beat one of the teams that we are going to have to compete for the rest of the season to win this division. That's the
Early,
only thing that matters.
You asked to start the Jed Wills conversation, so I will.
Yeah.
I will allow you the red carpet, the runway.
Yeah,
Jed Wills.
So first of all, I love all our fans here at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and I feel like they love me for the most part. But I've noticed that they don't like when I talk about Jed Wills. They feel like I'm being a little hard. You know, I've even heard that over this weekend. I say, y'all don't say that to G. Bush, but anyway, man, this dude ain't got it. He ain't got it. And I'm gonna say the same things I've been saying, man. The effort is not there. There is no way in hell that you going up against a guy like Myles Garrett every day in practice and you have not gotten better. There's no way in hell that Bill Callahan is your offensive line coach and you have not gotten better. Trey Hendrickson was coming around that corner, getting him high, cutting right up under him and getting to the quarterback every single time. You know, we didn't sit here and we didn't watch DeJuan Jones blossom into somebody that looks like he has the ability to be special over the course in less than 6 months. This dude been here 4 years and you got outplayed by a rookie who didn't start, didn't know what his situation was going to be today, didn't know how many snaps he was going to play today, if he was going to play any at all, and he flat out outplayed you. I'm sorry, Jed Wills flat out don't have it. He just don't have it. And we can sit up here and we can try to make any excuses that we want to make and, you know, try to go and micromanage the situation. Could we have worse at the left tackle position? Probably, but I know for a fact that we can have better as well. And I'm telling you, you know, so some of those escapes of the pocket and things like that is because our quarterback didn't have time. But I definitely paid attention to, just like y'all did, how our rookie right tackle outplayed the hell out of our left tackle that's looking for a new contract. G, rip him if you want to.
Well, look, you know, I don't. It gives me no, satisfaction to say Jed Wills isn't playing to the level or standard that, you know, he probably needs to play. But I will say this: I saw a couple plays he did a couple nice reach blocks on a Nick Chubb run outside. I think he got a couple yards on that. I think he did a good job of doing reach blocking in the run game. And staying on the guy a few times. I saw a couple nice blocks, but where Jed Wills struggles is moving his feet against pass rushers. Being able to kick, slide, and stop. And Trey Hendrickson today was just, I mean, he had minimum resistance. He ended up getting a sack, a bunch of pressures, a bunch of things like that. And this is the things that I'd be upset about. Like, this is when you have standards and principles that you do and when you grade and judge people on, like, let's not act like if I'm going to give Deshaun Watson certain levels of grades because it's the most important position, don't come back and lose your credibility because you don't want to call Jed Wills out. Like, you lose credibility by doing that because it's like left tackle is one of the most important positions, and you got this guy who's is below average, and he has a motor issue. Like, he has problems where he stops in the middle of the plays. And so for me, it's disingenuous the fact that if I could bring up the fact that I could say, look at his PFF grades, and then I could show you on film where he's getting beat to, for you to say, I don't think he's that bad. What are you basing that on? Hopes? Like that? Like, I like Peter Pan, but I know he ain't coming to life. That ain't happening. So.
You're right. No, Drew, you're right. If we're gonna sit here, first off, our job is to give our opinions on what we saw. Plain and simple. Yeah. We're not saying we can step in and play left tackle for the Cleveland Browns. Gee, I know you're 6'5", 320. Maybe you could back in the day, but like Earl,
me and Mike getting cute.
We are not saying we could physically do the job. Our job is to comment and opine on the people out there who are getting paid to perform at their certain positions. I just said I'd give Deshaun Watson a C+. I didn't think he played great. I thought he played well enough. Jed Wills has certain plays where you watch him and go, oh, that was really good. But more often than not, you sit there and go, oh, Watson was under pressure where it came from the left side again.
But McNuggets, my problem was with this McNuggets too is they was putting the cape on for Jed Wills, advocating $15 million when you know it's a bunch of pocket watchers in the media. And then we said, well, look what DeJuan Jones is doing, and then All Pros is showing how good he is, and they're like, well, it's just a preseason. I don't count. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, and can we do a victory lap on that? DeJuan Jones is going to play for Jack Conklin. We told you they should have gave Jack Conklin that money weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, some one of our fans in the chat said, we dominate the game, yet we're here focusing on Jed and the negativity. Listen, it's our job to analyze the game. It's our job to talk about everything that we saw. Project Pat even told you got to take the bad with the good. It's our job, and it's not slander. I'm being honest, Mike. You being honest, G. You being honest. I don't know what our fans see in Jed Wills that makes them run to his defense every single time we say something about this dude. But come on, man. You see it with your own two eyes. Like, just because the Browns played in dominant fashion and just because we came out victorious, don't mean that, we
just spent 58 minutes talking about how good the defense played. We have spent 58 minutes talking about the dominating performance.
Listen, Mike, me and you both know constructive criticism, it is what it is. Next week, you know who his assignment going to be?
JJ
You know
Watt.
what his assignment going to be?
TJ Watt. The same.
So we're gonna see these same people that's running to his defense right now. They're gonna be running to his defense if something was to happen. It's okay to point out that somebody ain't. And
I'm gonna give you. And here's the thing: I understand that you're a fan, but if I'm gonna give you what happens in the locker room. If you were a fan and you got to spend Monday with the team, they're gonna go into a film session and they're gonna see every single play. And the coach is going to rewind it and say, you did good on this play. And they're going to rewind it 3 times if you did something bad. And the whole coaching staff will be there to see it as a team. Do you think it's acceptable for you to say, Coach, we just won the game 24-3 and we haven't been good in the past. This coaching staff has issues. No, they would say, what, son? You might want to get yourself together. Matter of fact, you might get cut if you say that. Like it is what it is. Like it's football. I'm trying to give you the most authentic screenshot that I can. If you want the Kool-Aid, I give you the Kool-Aid. I'm the Kool-Aid king. I got shirts that say the Kool-Aid Mafia, but I'm also the people's champion. I would be doing you a disservice if I wasn't breaking down some of the negatives that could come to bite you in the tail when it counts the most.
And G. Bush, if they played a perfect game and won 77-0, then guess what? We would find nothing wrong to say. It wasn't a perfect game. It was a dominating win, but even in a dominating win, nothing's perfect. Deshaun Watson wasn't perfect. Hell, Nick Chubb wasn't perfect. As good as he was, everyone has something to work on for next week. It's week 1. Like,
we all got to get better.
Hey, I'll make a promise to you guys right now, to Earl, to G, to the 2,500 y'all in here. If the Browns win the Super Bowl and we're doing a live post-game reaction show, I don't care if DeJuan Jones, Jed Wills, Joe Bitonio gives up 50 sacks. If they win, we ain't going to talk about it. We
Ever.
Talk about the positives. Until
he'll be a Super Bowl champion.
Show, we have to give you the good and the bad of what we saw. Anything else on Jed? I think we talked about enough. I know we'll touch on it tomorrow. I want to get back to one more thing before we wrap up here.
Well, he's going to have to listen, because your new starting tackle moving forward looks like it's a rookie.
Yeah.
So the Jed Wills come in to, the DeJuan Jones coming in for Jed Wills doesn't look like that's a thing. So he's going to have to play better because you're already down a guy in Jack Conklin. I don't know. It looked like it was a serious knee injury. It just does. But we got to say that, he just has to play better, and we'll be spot shadowing DeJuan Jones because that's a big matchup coming up this week against the Steelers.
All right, we're going to wrap it up here, guys. We've gone over an hour. We've held 2,000 for over an hour. Wait, we got super chats I got 2 new super chats first, and then we will wrap up. Where was it? From Saucy T says, we lost 2-0 in the turnover battle and still won by 3 scores. That never happens. That is impressive.
Ever.
B-Dog21 says, Jed was more violent at the point at Alabama than he's ever played here. But remember, he was a right tackle. He doesn't play with confidence to me. It's crazy. I think there may have been one more, and if you see that, drop it in there. I may have missed it. But, guys, we'll wrap on this. The Stars, especially defensively, showed out exactly how we expected. Myles Garrett, utterly dominant. Za'Darius Smith in the backfield from the get-go. The guys in the secondary, Emerson, Ward, Newsome. No picks yet. Even though Emerson did pick one off, it was just out of bounds. He played the back shoulder fade better than Jamar Chase played the back shoulder fade and caught Joe Burrow's pass out of bounds. Defensively, the Stars showed out, did exactly what they could have done. Offensively, no receiver had more than 3 catches. No receiver was targeted more than 6 times. it was spread out across the board outside of Nick Chubb. Who impressed you the most in this offensive scheme?
Who impressed me the most?
And you can go in any direction you want because there's definitely not an obvious answer here. I hope we get 3 different answers. Do you want to start? Or Earl, you want to start?
I don't know if I would use the word impressive. I'll say this. I can tell what they're trying to do with Elijah Moore.
Okay.
You can see that Elijah Moore is going to play a significant role in this offense. You can see that he's going to be used in multiple different ways. And I'm excited to see that, grow as the season goes on. But I don't know, like, outside of Chubb, who was the most exciting. But I can just say that Elijah Moore caught my eye. He was targeted a lot. He ran the ball a few times out the backfield. So I think that as this season gets on, I think it's going to be special watching him, develop into a true playmaker for the Browns.
G. Bush?
I wouldn't say most excited, but I want to say was a very bright spot to me. You get a guy like DeJuan Jones who came in for the right tackle, didn't give up any sacks, didn't have any penalties on him, was able to come in, digest the playbook, come in, not give up any pressures, and that's huge for a guy who is going to be a rookie. So I thought that was really big. That's a testament to what the offensive line coach Bill Callahan has done. And as we always talked about it, y'all might want to listen to us a little more. I just kind of know a little something. I'll be trying to tell you, DeJuan Jones, he ain't gonna play till next year. If he plays this year, it's a disaster, or he got to get a red shirt. No. Stop playing with me. Once again, the G Bush and the crystal ball continues to roll on. All we need is a Mighty Bakes to big ball out, and the rest of y'all is out of here.
My answer is Dustin Hopkins, but for the sake of changing up a little bit, the fact that Marquise Goodwin not only played but was a factor in this offense. I know he had 0 catches, but he had those 2 deep ball targets. The fact that he was actually involved in the game plan of what Stefanski drew up in 2 separate ways, G. These were creative plays that I don't think you just run for DP. Like, those are only run when Goodwin. I am the freaking worst. This is going to destroy my confidence.
Which is
Goodwin. It's Goodwin. It's Goodwin. I don't know why in my head I have
But
Godwin
there was
there.
a Texas guy named Godwin, though.
There is, and I'm getting 2 guys confused. This is a bad job. I'm a professional, and this is just bad. But the fact that they had 2 plays designed for Marquise Goodwin,
there it is,
specifically designed for him, not DPJ. Those probably were the Anthony Schwartz plays before the offseason.
Yeah, they were.
Now it's Goodwin's spot.
Yes.
The fact that they actually had 2 plays schemed up for him, and he was confident enough to call both of those in this game.
Like it.
In my mind, that means there's probably a playbook page with 10, 15 of those in there.
Yeah.
And they're going to continue to kind of sprinkle those in throughout the season. And we haven't seen the Browns have a deep threat since at least I've been here, which was really since last year. And they mentioned on the broadcast, Watson's longest completion last season in those 6 games only traveled 21 air yards, which I didn't remember. I didn't remember any deep balls, but I assumed he had thrown one deeper than just 21 air yards of a completion. The fact they attempted to today to Goodwin, had that 3 times in a row. Good job from
there. It is. Now you mastered it.
3 to Goodwin. It just gives me a little I could take a little deep breath, let my shoulders sink and exhale on the fact that really is in the playbook and it's not just an anomaly. So for me, my surprise X factor, Marquise Goodwin.
Hey man, listen, you got double doses tomorrow. Look, think about this, man. You got UCSS. What do we got on tap tomorrow, Mike?
We got 2 hours of pure reaction. We have Adam the Bull.
There you go.
Jason Lloyd, who's in the locker room right now. We'll have some insight from what was said. We have Jay Crawford. We have UG. We have no guests. It is just us 4, or you 4, me and Earl, Anthony in the booth. And we got the barbershop at 4 o'clock too. So not only do you have one live reaction show with the Bengals fan himself, then you get G. Bush, who will have 24 more hours to marinate on his Kool-Aid. Can you imagine a G. Bush marinated? G, if you're going to marinate yourself, you marinate yourself in cherry Kool-Aid, watermelon, grape.
I've been drinking a lot of grape Kool-Aid, but it's always the red, big red. I drink the red immediately. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, well, this was the first of what we hope to be many victory post-game shows. The Cleveland Browns are victorious over the Cincinnati Bengals, and frankly, it wasn't even close. One of the best defensive performances in the modern era of the Cleveland Browns, maybe the best we've ever seen, as G. Bush said earlier. Offensively, wasn't the best, but it certainly was good enough. And Deshaun Watson, at the end of the day, outplayed Joe Burrow. Take that for what it is. For G. Bush, Earl the Pearl, it's Mikey McNuggets. We will see you tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Peace.